Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of Deep True Crime. I'm Manny Rodriguez. In today's episode, we are covering the murder case of Emily Noble. Her husband currently stands on trial for what they refer to as a staged suicide. That she didn't actually kill herself, but he killed her and made it look like a suicide. We're going to be diving deep into this case. Right now, I'm going to give you the updates on what led, as far as we know, to this murder charge. My friends, if that's the type of content you like to follow, please hit on that subscribe button. That way it lets me know you're getting some value. And that way, anytime I upload any content, because my goal is to keep you aware of what can go wrong out there so we could be a little better prepared in our world. If that sounds like the stuff you like to follow, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let's go ahead and dive into this case. Emily Noble lived in Westerville, Ohio, where she worked at a medical office for over 10 years. Many people refer to her as a feisty, free-spirited, beautiful soul who always had a smile on her face. But according to those around her, those closest to her, they say that all changed when she met her second husband, Matheau Moore. Emily's first husband, Mark, by all accounts of those around her, they say Mark, her first husband, was the love of her life. He committed suicide in 2011. Her friends say Emily was absolutely devastated, but her strong-willed nature helped her recover, and several years later, she created a profile on a dating app called Plenty of Fish, where she met her husband, now Matt Moore. Matt, originally from Las Vegas, in 2000 he married his ex-wife, Lisa Pedersen, and they had 2 children together. One of the children died early in childhood from an unknown cause. In 2001, Lisa called the police and reported that Matt had choked her and threatened her life, stating, "You're done for." No charges were ever filed against Matt, and in 2006, the couple divorced. After meeting Emily, Matt moved to Westerville, Ohio, with his teenage son Joey. Emily and Matt would marry in 2018, and Matt and Joey moved into Emily's condo. Emily absolutely adored Joey and treated him as her own son. Now, Emily's loved ones, they weren't too fond of Matt, and they found the match between the two to be quite unusual. While Emily was a neat freak who practiced good hygiene, her friends say that Matt appeared untidy and frazzled on a regular basis. And they say as soon as the couple got married, Matt became possessive and isolated Emily from her friends. We hear this a lot in domestic violence problems, don't we? And according to her friends, he spoke to Emily in a demeaning manner and constantly felt the need to assert his dominance over her. Emily loved nature and took beautiful photographs which she framed and hung up in her condo. When Matt moved in, he forced her to take them all down. Bizarrely, he even wore Emily's deceased husband's wedding ring. Matt never once held a job or even contributed to the household while being married to Emily, and he behaved as though Emily was solely responsible for his son Joey. And people say that when it came to Emily, Matt's attitude was my way or the highway, and some believe that she was considering divorcing him shortly before her disappearance. In early 2019, Matt's son Joey began exhibiting behavioral problems in school, and he would be diagnosed with schizophrenia. Despite clearly needing some mental health help, Matt refused to get any help because he would say he didn't believe in doctors. Over time, Joey's condition would further deteriorate, and while out drinking one night with friends, Matt reportedly stated he wanted Emily to adopt a baby girl from Ethiopia because he is allegedly quoted as saying, "The kid I got now is beyond help and that he was done with Joey. In the summer of 2019, while Emily was out of town, Matt called up Emily and told her that Joey, his 17-year-old son, had been found hanging from a tree in a local park. His death would be ruled a suicide, and Emily was devastated once again. Less than a year after that incident, Emily would vanish. On May 24th, 2020, that day is Emily's 52nd birthday. She spent the evening with her husband Matt, and after a long night of bar hopping, the couple went back to their condo and went to sleep. The next morning at 10 a.m., Matt called several of Emily's friends and asked if they had seen or heard from her. And he claimed that although Emily's phone, keys, and car was still at the condo, she was nowhere to be found. And at the request of her friends, Matt finally calls the police and reports Emily missing. And Matt tells the police that he had gone to use the bathroom in the middle of the night, and instead of returning to their bedroom, he went to sleep in the guest room because he did not want to disturb Emily. And according to Matt, when he woke up the next morning, she was gone. Now, my friends, that is a very strange story that you would give to the police as to the last time you would see your wife alive. I cannot remember a time that I got out of the bed, went to the bathroom, and just so I do not go back and disturb my wife, go to sleep in another room. There have been times that I couldn't sleep and may have gone to the bathroom and just still couldn't sleep. So I'm like, I'm gonna go down and watch TV because I can't sleep. But this story, bathroom, middle of the night, and I don't want to wake first time he's ever gotten out of bed? There's probably more to this story. There's probably more to the story. Again, this is now in day one of the trial. I'm just catching you up before day one. I will continue this if you would like me to. I plan on sharing some of the updates all the way through as they are developing. And so make sure you hit that subscribe button if you want to follow this story. And so for the next 4 months, Emily's loved ones were absolutely distraught over her disappearance, and they all would rally together in search of this missing woman. They couldn't help but notice that her own husband had done very little to aid the investigation. Just days before Emily's remains were found, Matt appeared on the true crime podcast Vanished. As you can see by up here on your screen right now, Vanished is a podcast about missing people. Amanda Coleman, the podcast researcher, she shared information about the episode that Moore was on. You see, he was reaching out to them over and over and over, being persistent on please publicize my wife's case. And so they have him on. And so Amanda Coleman, the podcast researcher, she shared about the episode. And she said, interviewing someone that their spouse is missing, they're in a state of grief. They're in a state of desperation. There are things that Matt said to me that I have never heard in an interview. During the podcast, Matt Moore was asked to describe Emily Noble, his missing wife. And he replies, I never saw her get on the scale. She's very small, like 100 pounds, pretty legs, great arms. You see, instead of describing her a little more of who she is, he was talking about her body weight and the way she looked. He even referred to Emily as anatomically pretty. Amanda Coleman, she said she was stunned to hear this response. She said, my internal immediate reaction was, oh my gosh. Did he really just say that? When asked why he wasn't helping with the investigation or speaking with the police, Matt claimed he was busy searching for evidence and posting Emily's missing flyer on social media. And Westerville Police Department, they claimed they reached out to Matt several times to set up meetings to discuss his missing wife's disappearance, but he failed to show up each time. On September 16th of 2020, Emily's remains were found in a wooded area near her condo. Police say that the scene was staged as a suicide, but the autopsy showed she had been strangled. A USB cord was found wrapped around Emily's neck. On June 17th of 2021, Matt was arrested and charged with 2 counts of murder and 1 count of felonious assault. She was missing for 4 months before they finally found her body, which was discovered September 2020. This is exactly the area where her body was found, and experts say she suffered injuries to her neck and face, and police have said it appeared her body was staged to make it look like a suicide. And prosecutors believe that Moore killed Noble on either May 24th or May 25th, 2020. And of course, he's saying that they're making a mistake. This is a mistake. I am innocent. There was also a little contradiction in his story. He said that when he appeared on the podcast as well, after she disappeared, he said at the time she went missing Labor Day, Monday. That's when I noticed that she wasn't there and I called police. But May 25th, 2020 was Memorial Day, not Labor Day. And Emily Noble's friend Jeff, he told the Vanished podcast that he didn't believe Mathew Moore's account. He said the fact that she went missing and there was no one that saw her leaving, the fact that Matt couldn't even say that he saw her leave because in the middle of the night he went to the bathroom and didn't want to go back to bed because he didn't want to wake her up. He claimed that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Yeah, definitely a very strange account as to the last time he's seen her. Now, police have not shared exactly what evidence they have. We're probably going to find all of that out this week. To sum it up, it doesn't look great for him, but what little we do know doesn't say that he actually did it. So we're going to have to wait to even know yet, was it suicide or was it murder? But experts do say it looks like she was strangled. Well, there you have it, my friends. That is the Emily Noble murder case that is going on right now. You have learned what has led up to this, and now we get to hear a lot more. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. That way you get notified as I sum this stuff up. You can watch 8 hours of testimony, but I'm going to make it shorter and more simple for you. My friends, I'm Manny Rodriguez. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to serving you again. Peace.